The last thing we wanted to talk about was more censoring on Gaza reporting by 60 Minutes, which is, a very kind of a legacy media, documentary investigation over the, last few decades. And it seems that they were censored over giving a platform to what was happening in Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, this is as much about how the New York Times covers things, which is
Yeah.
often a topic on this program. And we can see the report here with the headline 60 Minutes Chief Resigns in Emotional Meeting. The company is done with me. And as you mentioned, 60 Minutes is this very iconic news magazine that goes back decades in the United States and is sort of very prestigious. I know there's 60 Minutes Australia too, which is basically a franchise because I've seen many episodes of it on YouTube. But the New York Times reports CBS News entered a new period of turmoil on Tuesday after the executive producer of 60 Minutes, Bill Owens, said he would resign from the long-running Sunday news program, citing encroachments on his journalistic independence. And then they say that at an emotional meeting on Tuesday, Mr. Owens's voice sounded raw, and he struggled with his words, tearing up as he announced his decision to the 60 Minutes staff, which had gathered in its office across from the CBS News headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. It also says, during the meeting, Mr. Owens alluded to his displeasure with additional layers of oversight that CBS executives had placed on the program. Quote, in a million years, the corporation didn't know what was coming up. They trusted CBS to report the stories and program the broadcast the way 60 Minutes saw fit, he said. Any change to that arrangement, he added, created a slippery slope. Now, the journalist Layla Al-Arian, of course, who we've had on this live stream on several occasions, pointed out that it wasn't really until deep into this New York Times article that we get to the crux of the matter. It's not in the headline, it's not in the opening paragraphs. You have to really read down into it. And that's that Sher Redstone, the controlling shareholder of Paramount, the company that owns CBS, had complained specifically about 60 Minutes' coverage of Gaza. According to the New York Times, again, this is buried deep in the story, quote, Ms. Redstone complained to CBS executives in January about a 60 Minutes segment on the war between Israel and Hamas. And a day later, the company appointed a veteran CBS producer, Susan Zirinsky, to a new role overseeing the news division's journalistic standards. So all it took was a phone call from a key shareholder. This is Sher Redstone, and I think she is the daughter of the late Sumner Redstone, who was for a long time the controlling shareholder of CBS, and they're a very very pro-Israel Zionist family, and it should have been the main story there, the lead, that CBS takes away 60 Minutes' historic independence, journalistic independence that it's had for 57 years because of a report on Gaza, because in order to protect Israel. And what was that report? Well, we can see here that in January, 60 Minutes broadcast a report on dissent within the State Department, and the way they describe it, as the Israel-Hamas war continues and the Gaza death toll rises, former State Department officials tell 60 Minutes they're concerned about how the Biden administration has handled the war. And you'll recall this is actually something we discussed with Layla Al-Arian, because the Al Jazeera program, of which she's the executive producer, had done that incredible piece that we spoke to her about how the Biden administration State Department was deliberately covering up how Israel was purposefully blocking humanitarian aid into Gaza, and was State Department officials were blowing the whistle and saying how they found this morally reprehensible, that this was being covered up. So this was what got CBS to take away the historic independence of 60 Minutes. It ought to
And
be
now
a
they
big.
have like a babysitter.
Yeah, and it's so
This,
similar to
yeah.
what the universities do. The minute there's any pushback from a big donor, Sher Redstone in this case is a shareholder. In the case of Columbia University, it would be a call from a big donor, someone like the donors who have been active there, like Bill Ackman and others, who are now, by the way, it's being reported in the New York Times, putting pressure. Bill Ackman, William Ackman, this big pro-Israel hedge fund billionaire, Penny Pritzker, scion of the the billionaire Pritzker family, which is also historically very pro-Israel, and now putting pressure on Harvard to back off from its defending itself against the Trump administration's efforts to bring this university effectively under government control and take away its independence. That's what these billionaire donors or shareholders want, effectively destroying every American institution for the sake of Israel, whether it's a university or a venerable independent news show like 60 Minutes, which, although was very mainstream, occasionally did, pretty good and pretty searching investigative reporting. But that is now no more, just because we're not allowed to talk about how Israel is deliberately starving and murdering 2 million people in Gaza.